Hello, Divya. Thank you for joining my podcast. I'm happy that we can talk some minutes about your experience, about your personal life, and I'm pretty sure that this experience will be useful for the listener. As your resume shows, you are a specialist in autonomous driving cars, and right now you are working in the Facebook company. Your resume is so fascinating because of the patents, participating in various projects, and working in distinguished companies. For starting, please introduce a little yourself and tell what is your working area right now.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here. Hello, everyone. I think I'm currently at Facebook. And you're right. Yes, I've worked with autonomous vehicles a lot in the past. Currently, I'm working in the infra data center team as a robotics engineer. I've worked at NEO and Delphi directly in autonomous driving and really seen firsthand the progress we have made in self-driving cars. So my field is robotics and autonomous driving, but outside work, I do like to mentor and volunteer for like tech and non-tech organizations. One of them that I'm mentoring right now is called MAL, which is a startup, which is an early stage accelerator firm. And TIE is another organization. Women in Autonomy is another one. So yeah, those are the things I enjoy doing outside work.
That's so nice. So as I found that besides your working in the Facebook, you have some mentorship. I mean, with the startups or something, or people. I mean, no, it's okay. And I wanted to go step by step toward your experience in big techs, and because you're working for Delphi, Microsoft, Neo, and now for Facebook. So I would like to know about your experiences and your roles in these prestigious companies. As I know that right now, as you mentioned, you are working in the robotic area in the Facebook company. And I will be happy that if you explain a little about your experience in these companies, and you can tell each, separate one by one, and it's okay.
Yeah, definitely. I am happy to start with Delphi, Delphi is an automotive company, which later renamed as Aptiv, but I joined Delphi right out of grad school at Purdue. And joining Delphi was an amazing experience because when I first heard about Delphi doing its longest drive, done by an automated vehicle across coast to coast in North America. This was back in 2015. It was very inspiring and exciting. And I accepted their offer for the Mountain View office. I got to work on a lot of different projects. We can talk about them as we go. I think my favorites was the DSRC technology, which is like short range radio communication, which is used for vehicle to vehicle communication or vehicle to infrastructure communication. So that project I got to demonstrate at CES, which was a great experience. And then later I got into mapping and localization for automated vehicles. That's kickstarted my interest in localization, mapping, and all these technologies used in automated cars and robotics. Then I moved to, for automated driving, I moved to NEO, which was really a great learning experience. It was a true it was truly a startup, meaning there was a lot of work going on. And there was also regular startup challenges, like lots of reorgs or things are moving very fast. But our team was working on, I was in the localization team. Our team was working on very exciting research work and projects to improve mapping and localization for self-driving cars. We got to publish our work at ICRA, which is I consider it one of the best robotics and automation conferences, which was an amazing experience. During my time, I also got to grow into from a staff engineer into a tech lead, where I helped organize our research deliverables and on specific timelines. And currently at Facebook, we are bringing automation in data centers, and we actually recently announced our project or talked about our project at OCP, which is an open compute platform conference that Facebook does, where we talk about our hardware. And our VP there said, without automation, scale is not a friend, and Facebook is growing so fast that we need automation. So that's what I'm helping within the team at Facebook.
That's so nice. And Yeah, as you mentioned, the Neo is really pioneering the autonomous driving, and as you told between your sentence, and I see in your Google Scholar, you have, I think, near to 20 patents in the area of autonomous driving. And for me, it was really interesting. And I wanted to know, not exactly about the details, because I know that everyone can see them and follow them. I wanted to know that these patents was during your working in Neo or no? It's, I mean, because all, as I saw, they are based on the autonomous driving, autonomous vehicles, localization, something like that. And I'd be really glad if you explain a little about them.
Definitely. I think one great thing again out of Delphi and then the culture we developed was really innovating around self-driving cars. And back in 2015 to 2017, it was very early on. Like I think AV industry there was so many startups, and then later there was a consolidation. Our team and our manager, or just the whole team, was very all about like, let's talk about ideas and build them and then file them as patent. So there I got into the culture of innovating a lot about and like believing in your ideas, right? We think of an idea and we think, oh, this cannot work, and just push it away. But the team instilled the fact that, no idea is that stupid. Maybe, it's novel enough that you can work it. And then, so that was great. Patents are, because I was primarily in the mapping, like eventually I moved from these different projects into mapping. So yeah, a lot of the patents are around those. How can we do, I think there were lots of them, like you said, some of them are granted, some of them are still in the application phase, but like bringing, like, I think most of the patents relate to how we need to interact with our infrastructure to improve autonomous vehicle mapping. Because just relying on GPS and, pre-built maps is, or even building live maps, there could always be some challenges. But talking to infrastructure, like your traffic lights or your, like improving infrastructure is one of the key things. So that's just for some of the patents. Yeah. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, that's nice. And one thing that you can answer it based on your opinion. I wanted to know how you see the situation of the electric car, autonomous cars. I mean, in right now, because for example, when we are talking about the autonomous vehicles, and there are many challenges, and as you know that the problems that is solving based on the academia is totally different in many ways with the real world. So it's just your opinion. I want to know that do you think that the level of the technology of the autonomous cars or autonomous vehicle in every part, I mean, mapping, localization, about the computer vision that is used in them, you think that it's near to the be mature, or no, it's just a toddler base, I mean?
Yeah, I think that question has many questions. We can, over time, I think back again, early on, it felt like there's so much work that needs to be done before we can get there. But now I look back and I think we can do it, at least in controlled environments. And that's what so many startups have done. Cruise, Voyage, Waymo even, right? Control meaning like if you choose, let's say, only schools where you want to operate, or business institutions, like where you just have a large area and you want to just go in that area, right? So that's easier to solve than just saying, okay, I'll take my car on the road and it should be able to go anywhere. So that is uncontrolled, and that's, I think we are getting there. I mean, you can see we're not there yet, but we have solved a lot of the problems in the last 6-7 years, which is amazing. Yeah, and I want to say one more thing. I think research, earlier it was like, oh, it's just school research or college research, but I think a lot of the companies now are hiring from research industries, right? Like a lot of PhDs, a lot of students with research background, and they're actually bringing in the work to make it a reality into self-driving cars. So
I agree that the new technologies, the novel technologies that we can see, especially in autonomous vehicles, is really amazing. But I don't know, sometimes I think that the power of the media is more than the real technologies. But because you have the reason that I asked you that question was that you work in their companies and you have better vision about how is the situation. So, and yeah, your answer was complete. And I know that we cannot go really in details about many things. So, and the things that because before joining the Facebook, you work in the NEO. So for me, it's really interesting to know that what reason motivated you to work in Facebook company and joining them. Absolutely, it's a really amazing company. But for me, that I'm a roboticist, so really working in NEO maybe is really in some aspects more interesting or something like that. So I wanted to know that what was your motivation for it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you sort of answered my question previously. Like, autonomous vehicles are they're still a little far. And after all these years, I was starting to feel that I need to work into something that's closer to production and in a more controlled environment, which is what Facebook offered. And I had a lot of opportunities when I was looking to join a new company alongside Facebook. But Facebook really offered the fact that they are taking whatever work they're doing as research into production, along with, again, great experience with the team that I had got to talk to. So that was very exciting. And the scale at which Facebook is approaching right automation, and it's crazy, you know, how big the company is. And so that was very exciting to me, like taking all the research work into production. So that's the reason I thought, let's give this a try.
Yeah, as I found that in your opinion, the projects in Facebook maybe what was more interesting to joining them. And absolutely these companies working in the age of the knowledge, and so I mean it makes sense for me. I can understand that everyone like to work in the age of knowledge, and it's really interesting. And if you, because as I mentioned, you had experiences in the big techs or FANG companies, I mean, the Microsoft, Facebook right now, and Neo. I wanted to know if you wanted to compare these big techs about the working environment, your personal experience, and other aspects. What will be your opinion? I wanted to just your general opinion. I just compare in your mind, how was your situation in these companies?
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing that I can compare with my experience is just that Facebook and Neo operate very bottoms up. Again, in my personal experience, meaning as an employee or as an engineer, you have the power to, do good work and grow. Whereas the others were somewhat the other way, because they're more older companies. So that's one thing about the culture. And of course, lots of work in a startup. So Neo was a completely different experience because it just got IPO'd. So there was a lot of transitioning from being a startup and still being a startup while you have IPO and public responsibilities. So I think each of the companies gave me a great learning experience. Yeah, and
in every step you got a unique experience about your companies, and it pushes to go further. As we know that for this question is for people who really are keen on to joining to big techs. And I want to know that for joining the big tech companies, and in your case, Microsoft and Facebook, normally they have interviews among lots of the people who are passionate about to working in these companies. And I wanted to know, how was this a step for you? And did you have experience about failing the interview, about the big tech? And if you like, it will be really good to share with us.
definitely. There is so much information on internet about cracking the tech interviews. And definitely I've failed. But I guess the biggest thing that I've learned is not to take failures too hard and, keep trying. It's an experience. My advice is just like organize. Big techs are, or just FANG, I would say, is they do interview a lot of candidates just because the number of applications that come through. But yeah, organize your interview schedule, I would suggest, around such that you can interview with the company that you want to get into the last, so that you're primed and prepared, and you've failed some already, so you're ready to go into it. Yeah, I've surely failed, but I'm glad that I made it to Microsoft and Facebook.
Yeah, and for I think as I know, maybe trying you can modify it. For joining these companies, there is some the bank of, I don't know, bank of question or something like that. People maneuver on it and try to, because I'm not sure. Just it's a question. Is it true? I mean, it's a bank of thing. I mean, it's thing that people work on it and something like that.
I think again, there is so much information on interviewing at Facebook and Microsoft Online, like about so many different things. But primarily, I think most companies, including FANG or even startups, look at three big things, right? One is culture fit. I think for startups, it's more important. And even at Facebook, actually at FANG, your culture fit interviews are super important. Your system design interviews are super important, and coding, of course. But yeah, and maybe I think doing external projects give you an edge. So you have something on the side going that give you an edge in your interviews. But yeah, lots of resources online. I can name some. There's, of course, Lead Code, there's Interviewing.io, there's that can help you. Yeah, that can help you prepare and crack these.
That's nice. And your interviews were step by step. I mean, for example, a lot of people, I mean, they went to other step less and less, and until you could reach to the final, or no, it's just one step that you had interviews and
yeah, I think I don't understand the first part, but yeah, it's like you apply online and then you follow the procedure with just getting a phone interview, then getting an on-site, and then getting to talk to the team and so on.
The process for the joining the FANGs like Microsoft and Facebook or others, Amazon or something like that, they are really similar to each other. I mean, not exactly, but I mean the process is standard and similar to each other, as I know. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's good. And you mentioned between your words, but I wanted to ask as a dedicated question. And apart from your case and your experience in general, what skills do you think that a person need to join the big tech companies, and what are the challenges in this regard for him or her? Totally, you think that what parameters play a crucial role in hiring to big techs?
In my experience, I think sometimes the culture fit, or we call them behavioral questions, can be a make or a break. I've seen that for some companies. Some companies really, really want you to know and feel like you're a part of the team. So if for whatever reason that didn't go well, even though other rounds went well, that could be a bad sign. Of course, coding is important, but let's say if you are a robotics engineer, you have a different background, you're a specialized role. So knowing your field well really helps. And again, like I said, doing some side projects or showing that you have specialty in, a part of robotics, like you're great at robotics navigation, you're great at perception or something, or great at tooling. Those really help you, like I said, give you an edge over the others. Yeah.
Yeah. Beside the robotics skills that, for example, as you told, for example, a person is really good and expert in mapping, so autonomous driving vehicle mapping. So besides this skill or hard skill, I mean, what soft skill you think that is necessary for a person to be really success in pass the interviews in such companies?
I think I would say communication and sort of believing in sharing your ideas. Make sure to share your ideas about maybe improving. If you think something is missing in the team, share it. Talk to your teammates. I think joining a new company, maybe FANG, it's sometimes you could feel like you're in your own silo, but I think it's your job to say, okay, I think this could be improved this way, or I like this in the team. So sharing your thoughts and opinion is super important, and not just falling in your own zone.
Yeah, to show that, yeah, it makes sense because they hire you to show your thoughts, and they are working the age of knowledge. And so, yeah, and as I found that presenting the idea in the, I mean, presenting the idea and thoughts plays a crucial role for person as a soft skill, as I found you mentioned. That's nice, and for me at least, it really makes sense, and I can understand that it's normal. And you know, in nowadays, the people, in my opinion, they are mainly focused on the hard skills, and the people who working on soft skills, like have a good communication, good sociability, or as you told, presenting your novel idea, your thoughts sharing. I think the level of these soft skills really reduce for engineer at least. And I think people who focus on such soft skills really can go further for having the jobs in this regard.
Great.
As another question that I am interested to ask you is that it's maybe a general question, that what kind of work environment do you like best? I mean, it's not about your working area right now in the past. It's about your favorites, about your prefers as an engineer that working the big techs.
Yeah, definitely. I like a collaborative environment where I can look to learn from others. That's important. I like to find a mentor. I like to find a sponsor for myself who can, again, you can learn from a mentor about the soft skills or even the hard skills, right? So that is super important to me. Collaborative team is super important to me. Yeah.
Having a good communication between the group members, team members, and collaboration with each other. Yeah. So interesting. And for me, at least, is like that. I really prefer to work in the group. I mean, for people who the communication for them is important like that, because at least in my case and my environment, I really like to get energy from the team members and know their idea and share my idea. And for me, working isolated is not very interesting. And I think, as you told, you are like that.
Yeah.
And do you think you will continue working in big techs? I know we cannot predict everything in future, but in your idea, you like to continue your working area in the big techs, or you like to test startups? The reason that I'm asking this question backs to this fact that when you are working in the big techs like Facebook, we know, or Microsoft, or Google, or Amazon, or FANGs, I mean, they are so big with a lot employee and branches, and they are like an automatic system that every employee are a part of this system. But when you are in the startups, you may be a member with multitask, and the role of people, engineers or members in the startups is clearer or higher. So what do you think in your future, in your idea, in your plan, what will be?
Yeah, I think I agree with what you're saying about, your experience at big company actually is defined by your local org culture or your team culture. So that I've been lucky that at Facebook, my team sort of runs, because we are a team of roboticists and engineers working on this product. It sort of runs like a startup where each engineer gets to wear multiple hats, or robotics engineer get to wear multiple hats about developing their product or testing their product and pushing for their product and things like that. But at other companies, like Neo was sort of like a startup. So there again, like I said, it had great things like a startup, but great challenges also like that of a startup. So that was great learning experience. But yeah, I don't know currently what my plans are, but definitely not saying no to working at one.
Yeah, yeah, and working in startups, yeah, it's really challenging, but it gets a lot of experiences. One thing that I saw we are talking about startups. One thing that I saw in your resume was that you were in the Indus Entrepreneurs Thai for some months. As I know, this center's mission is to foster entrepreneurship globally through the mentoring, networking, and education. I'm interested in knowing more about Thai and what you learned there and how it was for you.
Yeah, definitely. Thai was again a great experience, and anybody can be a part of it. And what I learned from there, or what Thai does, this annual flagship conference, which is called ThaiCon, where they bring in a lot of entrepreneurs, big and small, and anybody who wants to be an entrepreneur together and do talks. And I, along with some of my friends, my mentor, were one of the did a first time all women panel where we invited women track, where we had a bunch of panels, like a women VCs panel, women entrepreneurs panel, women exec panel. And that was such a great experience to see women at so many different positions in tech and sharing their experience. So that's what I get from Thai. And now I'm also part of their diversity committee, where we basically again do similar things, where we invite a lot of women VCs in Bay Area, and I was moderating one of the panels. So yeah, I think anybody can be a part of Thai, and you can volunteer to be there. And I had a great experience with these two events at Thai.
That's so nice. And woman in tech, it's really interesting, I think, at least for me, when I see that the role of the women's in the, not exactly in the fangs or big techs, in all the startups, all the engineering area, is getting higher and higher and more. For me at least, it's really interesting, and I really like to motivate more the woman engineers that come on and do more roles, because it's your right and it's you deserve it. So that's so nice. And do you think it's again a future question, but maybe you have plan for it? Do you think that you will have in future your own startup, or no, you prefer to work for the good companies, or maybe, as you told, the interesting startups?
Yeah, very good question. I think for me, I'm always working on side projects. I've dabbled with some ideas, one of them being building a tool for looking at ROS bags for ROS developers to make it easy for them to visualize what's inside a ROS bag. So that tool is out there. Maybe someone will use it and find it, like create a business case and so on. But I've also, like I said, I've dabbled with a lot of side projects. I'm always working on something. So if something does excite me a lot, maybe we'll take it forward, but no plans right now.
Yeah, and yeah, it makes sense strong, because the having a startups has a lot of challenges. And as I know, if I wrong, you can modify it. You have experience of working in India, US, and Germany. It's a general question. I know that your experience is just dedicated to your companies and not whole the country. But for me, it's really interesting to know that how you compare the atmosphere of the working and the differences or similarity between this country, especially India and US, that I think you has more time to be in these countries.
Yeah, definitely. I think India, I was there for a year working. It was early on. So again, when you're starting out, you have different experience versus when you have some experience under your belt. But what I see, I see a similarity between how we work in the US and India versus Germany. Germany is, I feel like, on the other end of the spectrum, meaning their people work from in their given hours, and they work hard. They work really, really hard. But outside those working hours, they enjoy. They give importance to their personal
In the
life, or to
Germany.
the side in Germany, to
Oh,
their side projects and whatnot. But I've seen here in the US and India, we tend to go over our, defined work hours and keep working, overwork ourselves if needed, to like deal with this pressure of being great in your work. Yeah, that's a big difference. I feel like it's similar in India and US, but Germany is like really on the other end, where people do both, have a life and have good work.
That's nice. That was nice notes that I never thought about it. And yes, and about the India, always for me, the market of the India is interesting because I can see that lots of startups emerge from the India, and people are really works very well, in my opinion. And so this is the reason for me personally, I always follow, besides the US, that I think many people follow it because of the FANGs and the Silicon Valley. For me, at least, I really interested in India market because I can see that how they are work very well. But you don't think that some days you're back to India for working, yeah?
That'll be nice. Not, I don't know when, but no, I think recently India has seen this great investment from so many big firms. And the startup scene, like you said, I wasn't there to see it grow this big. I was here, but the startup scene there has absolutely gone amazing. And I have a lot of friends who are doing startups there, really liking the work and all of that. So yeah, that's always motivating and exciting to hear that great things are happening back in India.
Yeah, that's nice. And one thing in the India that I'm not sure that about the question, you can modify it. In the India, I can see that sometimes the people who has good startups and they are going to the raising the funds, for example, in the A level, B level, or something like that, they wanted to migrate to US. And I can find them, it makes sense because of Silicon Valley atmosphere. I know Silicon Valley is a part of the US, but it's atmosphere in the world, not just about the one city or one part. So, I mean, you don't think that this factor, I mean, migration from the India and coming to US for growing the startups will affect to the India market about the startups? And I mean, it occurs, for example, when every person with a good company, good startups come to countries like US, I think this will keep the India's market to be always young, not too mature. Because, for example, right now, the US market about the new startups and technologies mature. But as you told that the India market is young, you think that this is not a matter? That is your
no, that's correctly a concern for a lot of people. But interestingly, the friends that I'm talking about that do have companies in India chose to stay back in India. So I think amongst the people that are coming here, I think some of them are coming here for like accelerator programs like Y Combinator and the MAL accelerator program that I was talking about, where you get mentorship from Silicon Valley, which is definitely great to have, but you can go back and work in India and run your startup there because of advantages there versus here. It's costly here. So I think friends have considered those things, and they've just like these specific friends have moved back thinking, hey, why not? So yeah, there's always this challenge of people coming here and staying, but some definitely choose to go back because the ecosystem is changing in India.
That's so nice, so nice. Before we are going to talk about your personal life, and I have some question about your personal, I wanted to, we talk about this question a little, but I wanted to ask in details that for people who wanted to send their resume, their CV to big techs or FANGs, what parameters they really focus on it? I mean, the company will focus on it. For example, the name of the university is really, important for them, or no, beside it, or more or less, it's important the person to have a good GitHub. I mean, about the skills of the coding and programming, not exactly the GitHub. I mean, having projects and coding skills. Or besides, it's important for companies to focus on the soft skill that we talk about it, or the courses the person passes, or workshops the person participated. What factors you think that is really important for the companies that at first step they focus on it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Boyan, and I think it has many answers for different
Yeah.
people. Like in Silicon Valley, I've seen actually it doesn't matter even if you have a degree or not. It matters that, again, depends on the company, but if you have great side projects and you can prove yourself maybe through an interview or through like your side project, which has gone big, you probably don't even need a good university or a degree. I've seen some examples of that. Now, again, if you're going in a specialized role, like in a robotics role or something, then it matters that you have, again, depending on the level that you're trying to crack, it matters that you have some experience in the past. Definitely having experience, right, in college, in side projects versus not having it makes a difference sometimes. But I do think over time, I've seen, especially in Silicon Valley, the name of the university matters in funding, in venture capitalist funding, but I think things have changed for hiring in FANG and startups. Like they look at your profile as a whole versus, oh, you're from a specific university, which is great. Now, outside of Silicon Valley, I think things could be different. Like companies that are very old have a specific mindset. But yeah, I can speak from Silicon Valley perspective that I didn't see that as a challenge for me or some of my friends.
That's nice. And you mentioned that, I mean, totally the degree, sometimes if the person is really so skillful, is not a really big deal for companies to hire. And I think this is really good, I mean, news for people who are really skillful, but for any reason, they don't want to continue their college or university to PhD or more, I mean, postdoc and something like that. So this is really good and positive, I think, for people who are skilled and wanted to work in the big techs. And do you agree that the opportunity is available for everyone who are skillful?
Absolutely. I think there is no doubt about it. Even outside Silicon Valley, I would say if you have some experience in your college or just by yourself, right, not in a company, I think definitely. With internet, I think it has made it possible.
Yeah, really. And I agree. People can, I mean, because sometimes I hear from people, especially the students in bachelor or, I mean, the teenagers, that they tell that, okay, we don't have any equipment or blah, blah, but really we live in the world that everything is so easy to access. And for example, in the YouTube, you can see many free videos. And besides, for example, you can access to really great courses online. And I think for me, at least, this world is so exciting. I cannot imagine a person who live in this world and wake up in the morning and tell that I don't have anything to do. Why? There's a lot of things you do. And for me, this world is so amazing and exciting. At least for me, it's like that.
Yep.
We can learn, we can enjoy and many things.
Yeah, and with remote work, I think a lot has changed, right? People have accepted remote work, so you can really be anywhere and work from anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
COVID has changed that, one positive thing.
Exactly, yeah. And we can see that people stay with their family or going to the travels and working, and it's a really good opportunity. So I really like this life, and I don't know how people sometimes don't like it. And if you agree, we can talk a little about your personal life. If you want to choose one biggest success and failures that you have ever faced in your experience, what are they? It can be personal life, it can be about your careers, about everything.
You said biggest failure, right? I have lots of
biggest success and failure, both.
Okay. I mean, I think really truly for me, failure is a learning opportunity. That day you'd feel bad, but the next day I'm always up and running to the next thing.
So
To say
nice.
the biggest failure could be, I can say that it was, we were exploring a project and I applied to YC and I didn't make it to the second round through the interview due to founder issues and things like that. But that experience of getting ready, like I said, was great, right? Even though we failed, everything there was a learning experience. Biggest success, I would say, is my paper at ICRA. I think despite there were a lot of patents, but I think having a paper at ICRA really strengthens my belief in myself. So that was, I would say that is the biggest success so far.
So nice, so interesting. You told two things that for me was interesting. One thing that when I was asking this question about the failures, me too. I really not agree with the. I'm not agree with the failures word, but it's a word we should use. But totally, I agree and I appreciate your mindset about. Yeah, there's not any failure. All things are experience. And one thing that I predict that you will tell about your success. I thought that maybe you tell me that working in Microsoft or working in Facebook, but you tell the paper. And as you mentioned that besides the patents, this paper was really, that was interesting. If in your life, what are you passionate about, and what things or mindset or even person motivate you more in your life?
Yeah, passionate is always learning new things, like learning about your podcast or learning about the work you do, or you just look around and there's, again, internet age. I've seen so many of my colleagues and so many of my friends, and just their journeys is like, I'm always inspired by that. Mentoring is another thing that I'm really passionate about for women in tech or just general tech, that I want to share what I have learned. I've always had good mentors, so I want to always pay it forward. I do mentor currently at MAL, like I said, the accelerator program. They're a small accelerator, early stage accelerator out of Bay Area, and they have a lot of startups coming in and out. And I got to talk to some of them, and it's, again, very exciting to see their point of view about their startup and their belief. So yeah, those are some things I'm passionate about. Lots of people on the list that I'm motivated with. Like I said, every other person who has a story is inspiring to me.
That's nice. You are such a lifelong learners that, and this is motivate you more, and it's really nice. And in your routine days, do you follow a dedicated lifestyle or something? For example, as a engineer in the Facebook, tell us about one routine day. How is your day starting and ending? How is your total thing that you do and tasks that you have?
Yeah, I think at Facebook and maybe even at other companies, every day is sort of
about
different.
your life, not just about the task in Facebook, about your life. Yeah, when you wake up, what do you do? Because I know that it's really interesting. People don't know that, oh, what is this lifestyle of the engineering?
First thing is coffee.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I think every day is slightly different. I don't have like a set thing, except like I try to end my day at a certain time out of work. But that has changed with COVID. Like you sort of like the days have merged into evenings and work has merged into your personal life. But I think early on it was difficult with COVID, but I found a rhythm where what works for me during the day. Start early, work, find your focus hours. So I tend to have a day with no meetings where I can focus. And some weeks just tend to have no meetings. So those are the best. You can focus on your work. The other weeks tend to be more meetings where you're starting a new project, or you're trying to get your customers to agree on something, or find a solution for them. So all of them have different goods and bads. So yeah, that's sort of the lifestyle approach that I've taken. Outside work, I think, yeah, of course, keep in good health, eat good. Those are super important.
Right now, you work remotely or in person? Remotely.
Yeah, right now it's remotely.
Remotely. And you wake up very soon. Oh, yeah?
I wouldn't say very soon. I wouldn't say 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. But
good.
7 to 8 is a good time.
Really good. And do you think that your efficiency in the remote is better, or when you were in person?
That's like I said, early on, it was sort of difficult to adjust
Yeah.
because you were like, oh, where is this hardware or where is this team member that I could talk to immediately and get answers.
Yeah.
But I've adapted to it. With remote, I found that meetings, like you can immediately go from a meeting back to your work.
Yeah.
But while in person, sometimes that can be hard because you're walking back, there is lunch hours and all that. So I enjoy remote work now, but I'm always open to going to office. I think it's like I don't think I can choose. If you're asking me to choose, I don't. It's a very hard decision. So I like the
Yeah.
flexibility of hybrid. I think I would say that.
Hybrid. Yeah. And remote work has its advantages and sometimes drawbacks. Because for me, for me at least, I really need some days to meet people and talk with them in reality, not just in the internet. But we cannot deny that remote works has its advantages. You can, for example, do your sport at home. I don't know, drink your coffee behind your laptop, doing your works, and it's really has interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but me too. I agree with the hybrid. Sometimes we need to talk with people in reality. A tricky question. In your opinion, do you consider that yourself as a successful person, or you think that you have not reached to that point? In my opinion, absolutely, you are successful. Really?
That's very kind. But I think that
But
depends on perspective.
yeah.
Yeah, and I have long ways to go, but also I'm thankful for that I am today.
So you are such a person that many times restrict yourself. Oh, I should not do that. Oh, I like that. I mean, very.
No,
No.
I don't think so. I think like I said, I'm always open to talking to someone and learning from it. That is
Yeah.
truly, I think, something I enjoy.
So nice, so nice. And in your life, did you, for example, it's about your experience. Did you read a book? You mentioned in your words, but I wanted to know more specific. Did you read a book? You're meeting a person or something like that, or events that has really good impact on your mind? And for example, it's like a game changer in your life. For example, for some people, it happens that they met a person, and after that, they have a really more intuitive, or reading a book or something like that. How about you? Did you have like that, or no? It was not.
No, that's a great question. I think growing up, I did admire a lot of like female space engineers. There was an Indian one called Kalpana Chawla. But now, like when you're here, I think, like I said, I'm inspired by every individual that has a story. Many of my colleagues, many of my friends doing great work back in India and here. Young professors in the field of robotics like Cyril and Abhinav Balada. And of course, the well-known people and their life trajectory is so interesting to watch, right? Like Sebastian Thurn, Professor Wolfram Burgard, all these people are like great examples. And you look at their career profiles, it's so much to learn from. So yeah, I think it's not one person or a book, it's just so many of them and all their works. That's motivating.
That's so nice, so nice. And thanks for your time. As a final question, I wanted to know one piece of advice for people who are passionate about robotics or AI, and they wanted to work in big tech or FANG companies. What is your advice as a person that you have experience in this?
I would say now there's no time better than now, just because I've seen like self-driving cars and robotics draw from so many engineering disciplines that like robotics and AI are sort of becoming mainstream, like being a software engineer without a computer science degree. So like you can be a mechanical engineer, you can be an industrial engineer, you can be a chemical engineer, but if you have passion and if you have a project and some coding skills, I think people will hire you because there's so much need to like make self-driving cars and robotics more of a reality, right? So yeah, I think great opportunities out there. So
Right now is the best time.
right now is the best time.
Thank you very much, Divya. It was so nice talking with you. And at least for me, I learned many things. And your sharing your experience was so valuable. And I know, and I'm sure it, people who are listen to the podcast, they learn many things from your experience. Thank you for your time, for your sharing your information and something. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I enjoyed having this discussion.
Thank you, and have a good work, good days and nights.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Bayan.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.